Hello, I bring you even more news hot off the presses because One Piece Netflix fan, by the way, massive shout out to their entire community. If you want to know like anything to do with One Piece, follow them on Twitter. They have a Discord community. I don't think there's a single thing they've gotten wrong. They are really, really good with their investigations. Massive, massive shout outs to them. So this is coming from them, and they're saying that it's a rumor, so maybe they're not that certain of this themselves. Maybe this is like extrapolating from a few data sources, whatever. But they suspect that there might be 7 episodes in season 2. Let's entertain this idea because why not? My immediate reaction is no, because I want more. I wished for at least 8 and preferably 10, right? And the reason why, we'll get to this. If you want to look at purely the numbers, it's really not that bad. Season 1 blasted through 95 chapters in 8 episodes. And keep in mind, also, it has the debuff of setting up a lot of things, right? Whereas with Season 2, the only real introduction would be Chopper, right? Everyone else is we're already going. So that's like another buff that it has in terms of not actually needing that much time to introduce us to actual new faces. But that's beside the point. Season 2 would only be adapting, what is it, 58 chapters? So we are essentially getting another full season for effectively half the story that we actually went through in Season 1. So purely numbers-wise, this looks really, really good. However, I still think this is probably too few thinking about the story that is actually there. And I saw people started talking in the replies, and this is like, I think this is my biggest problem right here. The fact that Logtown could be just 1 episode, because I believe the biggest failure currently, and I use failure very, very loosely, right? Because it's just like a thing that I would like to see more of. But I think the biggest failure right now with One Piece, as well as Avatar actually, in the live action adaptations, is they have cut out anything that you could even remotely consider filler. I think all of these episodes have been so streamlined that it is just almost bullet points of plot. I think One Piece was much better about this than Avatar was. I think the first season of Avatar was like very, very, way too focused essentially. And we've lost the true like heart and soul of what the story actually is, and we're just blasting through story. Again, we should be in a much better place because there is a lot less story to go through. But still, we talked about this a while ago when we started getting a few more scoops about who's going to be in the series. And to me, it seemed like there's going to be a bunch of Logtown filler, right? Based on this video. If you want to see the whole video, it's up on the second channel. And my biggest hope was that we would get something like well, we're going to see it in some capacity, but the Sanji cooking festival tournament thingy. Something like that, that is of no real importance to the plot, that doesn't really have like a tangible goal that moves everything forward. This is not a big villain to fight. It's nothing. It's just to explore the dynamics between the characters, right? If you think back to Season 1, where, for example, using Sanji again, the Sanji scene we got with Luffy, where they talk about their dreams and Sanji thinking about joining the crew, that little scene there, even that had added plot, where it was with Jin. Even that like had actual tangible plot moving the story forward instead of just being the scene where we sit and talk. My dream for Season 2 and Season 3 was just that they would literally put in 30, 40, 50-second scenes of the crew being on the ship. Because they have built this gorgeous set piece that they barely even used, even though we're supposed to be attached to the ship, we're supposed to be attached to this little family that we now have, but the only thing we do together is go on adventures. We never have those sit-down moments. That's why I hoped we would get more episodes and not even necessarily more runtime. I think having more episodes, purely in terms of numbers, if these episodes were shorter, but there were just more of them, you would not have to worry about transitioning between scenes and sequences within the same episode, right? So you could have one episode, for example, ends with the ending of whatever arc they're doing, and the next episode could just open with us being on a ship and just us vibing. That doesn't, like, if there are only however many episodes there are, let's say 7, and you need to do that transition mid-episode, it feels bad because you don't really want to linger on it. So my biggest thing was always more episodes, not even necessarily more story or more runtime. So I hope that ramble made sense. I am not happy about this necessarily. However, I can, like, my rational brain does tell me that it's really no big deal. I just hope we linger, especially in Logtown, because Logtown does feel like a moment that we need to really savor, you know? That's why it's called Logtown. It's the prologue and it's the epilogue. We're supposed to wrap up everything we just did, and we did a lot very fast. So let us truly linger on this epilogue and then set off on this new prologue. Logtown has a ton of stuff in it. I hope there's 2 episodes at least. That's my thinking. And one thing that I haven't talked about, a lot of people in the community have been talking about this. So there was an interview with Garp's actor, right? And supposedly there's been talk, I'm not going to watch the full interview right now, but there is talk about season 2 wrapping up filming essentially already. I think there's like a few more things they need to do, and realistically there's probably going to be a few like reshoots. That's usually what happens. And then season 3 is supposedly going to start pretty soon, and people are considering that this might be a indirect confirmation that they're filming back to back. I wouldn't really think of it that way. If anything, I would think of it as Netflix having faith in the series and thinking about season 3 in advance without necessarily greenlighting it, right? Like, a lot of people confuse what happened with Avatar. Avatar is actually shooting back to back. Season 2 and season 3 are essentially being made at the same time, right? Well, not really at the same time, but you get what I mean. That's not the case for One Piece. There's been rumors flying around that is not true. At least we don't know about it. So if they're going to be shooting sometime even mid-2025, that's not back-to-back, but it might as well be if you compare that to the season 1 to season 2 break, right? So if they're actually shooting as he believes it in... I saw someone saying right here, if they're shooting, let's say, somewhere around summer next year, then that's going to be like much faster, realistically. I wouldn't really put too much stock in this because, you know, soon, I mean, what does soon even mean? You know, a lot of people were theorizing that this 7-episode thing, because 7 episodes is kind of odd for Netflix. They don't even do that either. A lot of people were speculating that this might be a situation where this is actually season 2 part 1, and there might be something more, and then there might be something more, and stuff like that. So there's lots of theories flying around, but I don't really know. I do think like we're in a very good place with One Piece. It seems like if you compare, again, comparing Avatar and One Piece, if you compare their media presences, there's nothing to worry about with One Piece. One Piece is going to be moving along for a long time. Netflix is putting a ton of money into this, and there's nothing to worry about, except for the fact that season 2 might be 7 episodes. Let me know what you think. Do you think I am off base? Do you think 7 episodes is more than enough for just 58 chapters? Or do you also want to linger in Logtown, maybe linger a bit more on Reverse Mountain because, you know, it's another very cool location? Little Garden, Oda's probably getting inspired from it right now. If you know, you know. In the manga, you know. There's a lot of stuff happening, you know, with season 2. That is all I basically have to say. My biggest hope is that they can use these 7 episodes and just make us really feel connected to the Straw Hats, right? Because I believe that the biggest failure for me personally is that I don't think if I had seen the anime and read the manga, I don't think I would be really super invested in these characters yet. Now, again, this is a purely hypothetical. Obviously, I've got no idea how I would actually feel if I just saw the show and that's it. But purely trying to think about it, I don't think I would be. And I think the biggest problem there is that we have gotten very few scenes where the characters just open up and talk. We saw bits and pieces of that, again, with Luffy and Sanji. We saw bits and pieces of that. I think that was some of the best stuff, by the way, in the season. With the little bar thing with Usopp, Nami, and Zoro, right? The fact that people started shipping Nami and Zoro, I think, is a good example of what I mean. Because, surprise, people were actually doing dialogue that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with direct plot. They were just doing emotional dialogues. That's how I think what we should be doing, you know? These small bits of emotional where we see just a family be a family. I think it'd be great. That's my thoughts. Let me know what you think, and then I'm sure we're going to be talking about this a lot more on streams. All right, that's it for me. See you soon, TM. Bye-bye.